Welcome to another edition of the Learning Journey podcast. Today we head off to South Sudan and we catch up with Wek Chol, who is the Ground Ops Manager in the program in South Sudan. Hey Wek, thanks for joining us on the Learning Journey.
Hi Wayne, thank you for having me.
It's very, very good to have you, and I think you're the first guest from South Sudan. So that's something, it's a little badge you can wear.
That's good. That's good.
Hey, tell us about your journey into MAF. Kind of when did all that happen for you?
It's quite a long journey. It started not in South Sudan, but outside South Sudan. I first met MAF pilots in South Africa when I was studying there doing my caravan rating in Johannesburg. That's when I first heard about MAF. I met Christian Hack and also Mike Dupuy. We were in the same base. They were sent there by MAF to do their rating, and I was also doing my rating on the King Air. That's when they told us we had it because we were staying in the same place. We had a chat every day, and they explained to us about MAF and how MAF has been operating in South Sudan since a very long time ago, since in the 50s. That's when I picked interest and I was like, oh, good. We'll be heading to South Sudan with God's will. I hope one day I'll be working for MAF. So I came to South Sudan. My journey then it started when the program that we were supposed to be doing in South Sudan was not actually that active. So I joined MAF and I went to MAF compound. I met Stephen Hagenair. But then he was the operational manager. I think that's when I started. I started as a dispatch assistant. Right away from training school because I was trained by the government. I was expecting to fly for the government, but then the aircraft were not available. So when I joined MAF, I thought of having my hands on any skills that is aviation related. So that's why I decided to join MAF, and I started as a dispatch assistant. I've moved from dispatch assistants to dispatch officer to ops support officer to dispatch coordinator, having done some roles also sitting there as acting in general ops managerial roles. And then I was moved in to be a deputy, which is still on there, a deputy ground ops manager. That was under Stephen Capsule. And here I am the ground operations manager. But then I was on and off. I was also still pursuing my training. So I left MAF twice and I came back to MAF twice.
We'll get to leaving and coming back because that seems to be a common thing, or at least, there's numerous people that have left the organization and come back. I want to go back to that time when you said you thought you were going to fly for the government and that didn't happen. And so one of the things, in life, professionally and personally, is that we'll come up against obstacles or challenges or trials or, whatever you want to refer to it as. Sort of how did you navigate through the disappointment and get to a place where even though you couldn't fly, even though what you thought was going to happen didn't happen, that you still were able to move forward?
I think that's life. Sometimes God has its own plans. So it's not that I have failed the mission that I was sent to. I did finish my commercial license. I did all the ratings and come back to South Sudan with the expectation that, yes, we are going to have aircraft available for us to fly. But then, I think it didn't work out with the government for reasons that I may not understand. So we're redundant. And I felt like, okay, instead of sitting, why can't I make use of the knowledge that I've acquired since it's the same aviation industry. So when I read the story about MAF and having met the pilot, so I was enthusiastic to be in a family of MAF. So I felt a little bit disappointed, but it's a journey. Life is a journey and it has its own disappointment. You never know. Maybe in the next 3 years, 4 years from now, maybe I would be back in the air fly again. So it's all God's plan.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's fantastic. You mentioned, the different positions that, you began in one position and then you moved to another position and another position. And then a few years ago, you were deputy grounds ops manager and now you're ground ops manager. Tell us what you had to learn, maybe about yourself, but also professionally as you went through those different roles.
Most importantly, you need to do your work well. You need to do what you are required to do, what job descriptions talks about. You need to be part of this bigger team, you need to play your part and be an active member of my family. In this case, I have a part to play. I need to do my job, and I find any new position with its own challenges, of course, and that's what development is. If you don't have a challenge in your role, then you are not developing at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about some of the development that you had to go through. What did that look like?
Yeah, having this, having trained in South Africa, I did not train as a dispatcher. I trained as a pilot. I only know how to fly a plane. That's what I was trained to do, but wasn't trained on maybe handling the cargo, dealing with a lot of passengers, doing the check-in, clear, making sure aircraft is configured correctly, all these things. So I found it from the beginning a bit of a challenge because, I have to learn how to learn new skills, especially on-job skills, by learning how to do the payload, how to do load and balance sheet, how to configure an aircraft, how to deal with the passengers, how to deal with airport authorities, how to deal with the dynamics of operation itself. Things changes so quickly, and you just have to adapt to come up with a new plan so that you meet your target. So it's a development that I have acquired by making sure that the new job that I'm in should be done in a way that will allow me to see that I'm heading toward the mission and the vision of the organization itself.
So on that part of your learning journey, did you have a coach that came alongside you and, really encouraged you? Tell us about the importance of the coach in that part of the journey.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I cannot forget about Matt Painter. Matt has really trained me, and he has actually coached me, has mentored me to be who I am. When I was the deputy ground ops manager, that's when Matt Painter came in, and we're sitting side by side in an office every day. So it would be like, I just have somebody that is there to help me. When I have a challenge, I would just turn toward him and be like, Matt, hey, how do you deal with this? How do you make sure that planning is done, especially with the team? How do you do rostering for the team? How do you arrange for the weekly duties, monthly duties, and yearly targets? So all these things are things that I have learned from Matt Painter, and he has also given me some skills, computer-based skills. Yeah, playing a bigger role in making sure I do an excellent one.
And now you're the ground ops manager, so I'm going to assume that you are coaching staff that are part of your team, or you're mentoring staff that are part of your team. So tell us how that looks. So you've come from the place where Matt was actually coaching you, but now you're the coach. You've changed positions.
Yeah, that's the good thing. Learning from one person, you need to transfer the same knowledge to another person, and that's the development. So having acquired this knowledge from Matt Painter, yes, I feel like I should do the same. I am working closely with my team leaders who also go and coach other new staff. We have new recruits now in the team. I should not be directly involved in coaching them or supervising them, because I feel confident that the staff that I have coached can do the work, and I remain looking at the bigger picture of day-to-day activities. So yeah, I have given the necessary skills to my team leaders, both in the dispatch, in the check-in, and also in the freight handling department. So yeah, I have transferred what I have learned from Matt, though it may not be 100%, but I feel like have given what is needed.
Yeah, 95%, that's okay. Hey, so tell us, even though you're in the ground ops manager role, are you still learning? Like, are you still gathering new skills? Are you still taking courses on Elevate?
Yes, I am. Every day. Even if you are not learning online, you are learning from others daily, because each day comes with own challenges, and addressing work-related challenges needs different approach. And I've also been involved in the recent past. I have done so many online courses with MAF, which I am appreciative of, because they have really added on my skills so much. Things to do with, I have done a certificate in aviation management, was the umbrella ribbon from the US. And of recent, I've just finished my growing leaders course, which was really very, very, very important. And I also did a crucial conversation, equipping me with skills that is necessary for my work environment, especially dealing with different people that have different cultural background, different approach, different communication skills. So yes, I am continually learning, and I will keep on learning. If you need anything that I need to learn, please, I'm available.
Oh, that's good. So you mentioned crucial conversations and you've gone through and you've done the training. I want to know, have you had to put it into practice? Because it's one of those things, and the whole idea of crucial conversations is that sometimes in the workplace, be that, in a support office or in a program, there are conversations that people don't want to have, but they're very important conversations. They need to be had. And I think human nature is that we sort of shy away from having those conversations. So I want to know, from your experience, having finished crucial conversations, have you used it in a practical sense, and how did it go?
I did use it, yes, in a practical sense, because I have a team. I'm leading a team of over 10 people with different roles. Sometimes things don't go well. Sometimes people need to be accountable. Sometimes you give assignment and they are not done according to the plan. And people would have their reason to argue why it didn't happen that way. So I think that's when a crucial conversation kicks in. You need to understand, because there is always cultural barrier. It is your decision as a leader whether you should act as a boss or be a part of the solution. You just need to point out important areas and give why it should be done differently, instead of just be like, no, you didn't do this. Finger pointing, I think, it's one of the worst things you can do as a leader, and blaming game. So, but of course, that does not take away the process of accountability. People need to be accountable to their work.
So you touched on culture there, and sometimes a crucial conversation comes out of like a cultural misunderstanding. So I wonder, particularly for South Sudan, obviously that's where you are, you've had experience in that program. What kind of cultural learning do staff in program have to do? Or what do they choose to do? Like, is it just living life and you kind of learn culture? Or is there something structured in terms of helping, particularly like, international staff that come to program or whoever it might be?
Yeah, I think, like, for example, there is always, when we have international staff coming into South Sudan, there's always, for those that have never worked in Africa, there's a bit of a cultural shock on how people deal with stuff. Like, for example, if something has gone wrong, and Wayne will be like, there are people, some people with cultural background who are quite direct. They can be like pointing things out quickly, directly. And other people, like in South Sudan, they find it a bit offensive when you be like pointing things out directly, immediately, especially when everybody is listening. So they find it as not the correct way of correcting things. And also there is that cultural background whereby maybe some people do not want to say things directly. Instead, they would like to be reporting behind the person that has done something wrong. Some people do not appreciate that. You just have to talk to them directly, but in a very genuine way, not like in an offensive manner. So I believe, for South Sudanese, cultural influence has an impact, especially with the international staff.
South Sudan has been in the news a little bit recently with the issues that are going on in Sudan and a lot of refugees coming across the border. And I really want to know the MAF staff, how they learn to cope with that sort of situation, because, I'm sure that you're hearing, as we are, here in the West, you're hearing horrific stories of things that are actually happening, and you're so very close to it. So what are you using to help you in a situation that is really, really difficult?
I think, that's why we have MAF aircraft in situations where, like, there are so many organizations that are responding to the crisis in the Sudan. A MAF comes in when there is a need for a quick response. I remember in the recent past, MAF has been actively involved in going to border areas, especially a place like Rang, delivering, taking there the team, especially the crisis management team from South Sudan government, to go and assess the situation. Some essential items have also been delivered by MAF. I for once, also went with a pilot up to Malakal. They were delivering essential medical equipment. I was really shocked by the level of the crisis because the whole airport was flooded by a huge number of people who want to fly to Juba, and there were no transport available. So I think, although MAF do not have the big capacity to handle a huge number of passengers, MAF, in one way or the other, through other organizations, I feel it has delivered, has responded, and has helped the South Sudanese that are fleeing Sudan, especially at the borders.
So given what's happening in Sudan and obviously, coming across the border into South Sudan, what have you learned about people? Because sometimes we see the best and the worst of people in situations like is happening on the ground in Sudan at the moment. So I kind of wonder, as an observer, as someone who is, involved with MAF, who's involved in providing some assistance, what have you learned about just people on the ground?
What I've learned about people need good life. They need a stable life, a secure environment. That's what I have learned. Well, that's what I have read from the people fleeing the Sudan. People are desperate for a better life. That's what I could say. They need home. They need an environment where people can live peacefully. People need hope. They need peace. That's what I have learned.
I mean, and that's what we do at MAF, isn't it? We introduce them to Jesus because he brings hope and he brings peace and he brings so very much more.
Yeah, that's what people need.
Absolutely. Hey, Wek, it has been fantastic to chat with you today. As we finish the podcast, our tagline when it comes to the learning journey is the sky's the limit. We don't use it very much, but from time to time, I just like to ask people, what does that mean? So for you on the ground in South Sudan as the grounds ops manager, what is the sky's the limit? What does it mean? What does it look like?
I think sky is the limit. Is like, I think we can never stop learning. We can never stop learning. We always keep on learning, even when we are even when we are on the bed sick. I believe we continue to learn. So when I believe for us as MAF in South Sudan, as MAF family, I believe we have still a lot to learn with the development in technology, where the world is fast changing, and there's a lot to learn. So we can never stop learning. And of course, the sky is the limit.
Absolutely. We can never stop learning. I do like that. Hey, Wek Chol, thank you so much for being our guest on the Learning Journey podcast today. It's been great to chat to you. And we wish you and the team there in South Sudan all the best for whatever is ahead.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for having me. And thanks to everyone that will be listening to this podcast.
We love highlighting MAF staff here on the Learning Journey, and a big thanks to our guest today, Wek Chol, for joining us on the podcast. I hope you were encouraged as Wek shared his journey into MAF and also within the organisation as he progressed to his current role as Ground Ops Manager in South Sudan. Now, one of the great things about MAF is that we've all got a learning journey, whether you're in a program or a support office, maybe you're on the tools or in a management position, doesn't really matter where you are. We want you to share your learning story on the podcast. And to do that, you simply need to send an email, learning.development@mafint.org. Just let us know you've got a learning story that you'd love to share. Email learning.development@mafint.org. Now, in this podcast, one of the topics that Wek actually touched on was culture. And if you need some resources to assist your team navigate cultural differences or maybe some challenges that you're going through, please get in touch with the Learning and Development team so that we can point you in the right direction. There are some great resources out there. That is all for today, but don't forget to join us next time for more of the Learning Journey.